All right, in this math notes box, let's talk about the conditions that you looked at today for two triangles and ultimately any two shapes to be similar. So what you should have discovered today is that for two shapes to be similar, corresponding angles must have equal measure. So here's equal, meaning same, and corresponding sides must be proportional, meaning they must have the same scale factor. And in the case of this of a triangle, all three sides must share that same scale factor. But it says, however, if you're testing for similarity between two triangles, then it's sufficient to know that all three sides share a common ratio. So what you looked at today was, do I have to necessarily know that all the angles are equal and all the sides proportional, or could I just know one or the other? So your first conjecture or first similarity statement that you looked at that you were supposed to kind of play around with on GeoGebra or just write a statement about was that the SSS triangle similarity or side, side, side. So because you have three sides in a triangle, okay, we look at all three sides scale factors. So if A and D are corresponding, so as the arrow is drawn, these two sides correspond. So if I put those two in a fraction and ratio, and that ratio reduces to the same thing. Let's put C and F. That C and F corresponding sides reduces to the same thing that B and E corresponding sides if I get the same fraction. So that's the only investigation that I do for the two triangles. Then I can make this statement. I can say, yes, side, 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 by the side, side, side similarity conjecture, the two triangles are similar. Or you would say, so that would be the statement that you could write down, the statement that you could say. And you can abbreviate it just like this. This little symbology right here, SSS with this similarity symbol, that's the same as stating the entire sentence, saying that all three sides are proportional, therefore the two triangles are similar. You could just say yes by SSS similarity symbol. Okay, so what these conjectures do is it gives us a way to take really long sentences that I know we're not all excited to write and just condense it down to three letters and a symbol. And therefore, when you write that, Mrs. Richardson's not going to put comma and go, why? I'm going to say, you're telling me why. You're quoting that whole conjecture, that whole long statement into just one little abbreviation. So that's why it's important for us to be able to relate um, this little phrase, okay, with actually what's going on. So this whole picture, this whole relationship can be summed up in just that little three-letter acronym. Okay, now it's also for two triangles to be similar. It's sufficient enough just to know that only two pairs of corresponding angles are equal. Okay, so um, on GeoGebra today, or just on paper, you might have said, well, I need to know that all three angles are congruent. However, when we're in a triangle, if I know that two are congruent, the only option I have left, because there's 180 degrees in each of these triangles, the only option you have left is for the third one to be congruent to the corresponding third one. So you actually have to only really investigate just two of them. So we call this last one the angle-angle triangle similarity, because you really only need to know two angles. Now, if we look at our picture here, they're not giving us angle measurements. They're not saying this is equal to 27 and this one's equal to 93. They're just showing us that they're congruent. So they're saying that these two are the same measure, whatever they are, and they're saying that these two are the same measure, whatever they are. So I could look at a picture just like this with no, so if we get rid of the 180, with no numbers, just markings, and say, oh, those two triangles are similar because of angle-angle similarity symbol. Okay, so if I'm asking you a question in homework from now on, instead of having to write out for me a whole statement or two sentences or three sentences, asking me, is this long enough? Have I answered the question? Because we have now done an investigation of how I can state that two triangles are similar, you can write yes by angle, angle, similarity. So get really comfortable with this symbology because it's going to be an easier way for you to explain to me how you know something than having to keep writing and writing and wondering, am I telling her enough? Okay, now that we've had the discussion about these two shortcuts, and that's what they really are, it's a shorter way to tell me what you know. So side, side, side similarity, if I can see that the three corresponding sides all reduce to the same fraction, then I can say they're similar by SSS. If I can see that two corresponding angles in one triangle are congruent to two corresponding angles in another triangle, I can say yes, they are similar by angle, angle. And now remember, all that similarity simply means that one triangle came from the other. So these are all, we're still looking at these pictures of dilations. So